Okay.
Renee. Okay. When I first found out I had to do a speech on one particular year, I was like, what am I going to talk about that only happened in 1 year? I was stumped on what year to pick, so I went with the first thing that popped in my head, which was 1922. At first, I was like, why did I even pick this year? I know nothing about it. But I started doing research, and I found out a lot of interesting things. What caught my attention and what I'm going to be talking about today are natural disasters, inventions, and executions of that year. So first, let's take a look at natural disasters. The Knickerbocker storm affected the areas from Virginia to Philadelphia, and it left 28 inches of snow in most of those areas, but in Washington, D.C., it left 33 inches of snow, which is pretty high, about that high.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. The reason this snowstorm is so infamous, though, is because of what happened at the Knickerbocker Theater. The roof, the snow became too heavy for the roof, and it cracked down, and it killed 98 people. Wow. And it sent 130 people to the hospital. This is why this snowstorm is called the Knickerbocker storm.
Nice.
Another natural disaster occurred halfway across the world on the coast of China. The Swatow typhoon affected the areas of Swatow City and the towns around it. It left over, next slide. It left over 100,000 people dead, and there was 12 inches of water, and boats were pushed 2+ feet inland. The most devastating scene was a lot of dead bodies floating in the harbor because of the typhoon.
Wow.
Yeah. Next, let's take a look at inventions of the year. Dr. Frederick Banting and Charles Best invented insulin, which helps regulate sugar and diabetes.
Wow.
They began by testing on dogs. They took out insulin from one dog and injected it into another dog, which was diabetic. And after a couple trial runs, it worked, and they were really anxious to start testing on humans. They tested on 14-year-old boy who was actually on his deathbed, and after a couple of days, he was up and feeling much better. Mass production ensued in 1923. Another invention of that year that I think we can all agree was pretty much uncalled for is the baby cage. Yeah. The people who used this lived in tall buildings and in cities, and they would put it out so their babies could have fresh air, have extra room to play in, and have more place to a good place to sleep, supposedly. I would probably never put my kid in one of these.
No, me either.
Yeah, no. Right. The last thing we're going to take a look at are executions of the year 1922. After the Anglo-Irish Treaty, there was a lot of people who were opposed to it, and one of those people was Roy O'Connor, which is that man right there. He decided to do something about it by taking over the Four Courts Military Command Center, and he was trying to unite the divided House of Ireland against their natural enemy, the British. It didn't work, however, and he was arrested 2 days later and sent to prison. On December 7th, 2 anti-treaty gunmen shot and killed Sean Hales, who was a pro-treaty politician, and as retaliation, they killed Roy O'Connor and the 4 other men who were also imprisoned. And what was crazy is that Kevin O'Higgins, the man who ordered this execution on them, had asked Roy O'Connor to be the best man at his wedding just a few years earlier.
Wow.
Another execution of that year was that of Henry Landrews. Henry Landrews was a French serial killer who finally got what he deserved on February of 1922. He would post ads on the newspaper saying he is widowed and lonely, and he was just looking for someone to end his loneliness. He wanted a companion. Little did the women who answered that ad know that that was going to be their last day of life. He would do as he wanted with them, and then put them in the oven and burn them to try to get rid of their remains. He killed 10 women during his killing spree, and 1 boy, which was the son of one of the women that he murdered. He never confessed to anything, but he got executed by guillotine, which means they chopped his head off. Yeah. He never confessed to anything while alive, but after his execution, they found this drawing of his oven in his cell, and on it said, "It is not the wall behind which a thing takes place, but indeed the stove in which a thing has been burned." So police accepted this as his confession.
Oh, okay.
After I did all my research on the year 1922, I actually found out that a lot of amazing things happened this year, and a lot of amazing events. Some of which have come down in history, and others that have been lost forever.
Oh.
Thank you guys.